All right. Thank you guys all so much for joining us. Very honored to be moderating this panel with these fantastic builders who have been working and hacking in this space since 2020, probably even before, but 2020 is when all of these folks got their start at the first HackFS in July 2020. And so excited to introduce to you all Swaroop Hegde, who's the co-founder and CEO of Powerloom, Ayush Ranjan, who's the co-founder and CEO of Huddle01, and Masa, who's the founder and CEO of Secured Finance. So excited to be leading this group. I really wanted to start by winding back the clock, back to those early days when you all got your start at HackFS 2020. This is before Filecoin mainnet launch. People were building on janky protocols and tools. I really want to hear from you guys about your hackathon experience back then. What sort of hacks did you put in place in your early projects as you were getting started? What inspired you to work on this problem area? And how has it iterated and changed over time?
Okay. Hi, I'm Masa. At that time, it was just before the Filecoin mainnet launch, and I was watching the YouTube, and 1 minute, is saying we need Filecoin lending market, and also I saw there's 100 hackathon idea, mostly written by one, and then top line is actually Filecoin lending market. And it actually, okay, I have a traditional finance experience, looking like nobody's building it, so definitely we should build it, and that's initial thoughts. And yeah, actually, then the hacks is, I also have a computer science background. And what I like about Ethereum is the concept of global computer, right? And what I like about computer science is basically, I really enjoy designing the computer processor. It's all about finite state machines. The idea is to rewrite the entire finance in a network, settlement network, as a finite state machines. And that is the idea of the initial submission as a secured finance, and we still keep building this. So I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, for me, so I'm Ayush, co-founder and CEO of Huddle01. I graduated back in 2016. I was an engineer, and from 2016 to 2020, I did product and growth at a lot of B2C-based startups in India, especially in Bangalore. And then I read a book called Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky in 2020, and I realized that, hey, I don't want to do product and growth anymore. I want to get a Nobel Prize in behavioral economics. So that was my wild dream, and I applied to a couple of universities in Europe, and I got through one of them in 2020. COVID happened, boom. My admission got deferred by 4 months, and that's when I had stumbled upon Bitcoin white paper. I started doing a couple of boot camps. I realized that I want to do something in this space, and that's when ETHGlobal HackFS happened. So I was just looking forward to, hey, I want to build this with someone who has already worked on this before. So that's when I met my now co-founder, Sushmit, who was also from my same university, and it was a 30-day hackathon. And we didn't have any kind of plan on what we want to build at that time. But since it was a 30 days hackathon, we were just observing the market, and we observed one of our mentor called Andrew from Textile Powergate at that time. He was mentioning a lot about decentralization, and over time we saw that all of these calls were happening over Zoom, even ETHGlobal HackFS. And we realized that we need to solve this communication infrastructure. That was the whole start of the journey, and that's when Zoom bombing used to happen, where anybody would be able to join the calls. So the idea was pretty simple, that we'll just build something in a peer-to-peer fashion, where it's much more secured, much more private, and your call quality is also better. And at that time, because of COVID, in India, the connections were not great, and because of that, a lot of people were not able to do video calls in a very effective manner. So that led us to basically build what was called Cadbury back then, but now Huddle01. Yeah, so that was the journey. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Swaroop. 2020 feels like a long time ago, and also not so long. I think at that time I had just started working. I was already building a developer tooling and running some boot camps for a bunch of students. And Ayush was also at it. And I know some more people in the audience as I walked in. And as I used to encourage people to work on not only what they were learning from us, but also take part in hackathons. And then HackFS was one of them. So ETHGlobal, we sort of worked together with them for all these things. But for me, it was like, I got to walk the talk. So I remember it was just one night before the deadline when Anumit and I were like, hey, we have this side idea and maybe we should also do this so that we can experience what our students are experiencing. And we started to build what was then just a use case of what we're building today. It was quite the interesting finale when we presented it, but I think that got so much attention. It actually encouraged us to continue working on it. And yeah, we've come a long way since then, but it's exciting.
I'm curious, I'm getting an impression from these answers, but was starting a startup the goal? Were you already planning to start companies and take these ideas forward when you entered the HackFS hackathon? And if so, like how did this process of going through a hackathon help you get clarity on the idea and start building momentum toward it? But if not, where was that moment? When did you decide like, all right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go make this happen?
Yeah, for us, it was when we started building we were starting dabbling with WebRTC protocol. And we, over time, started realizing that what we are building in terms of the communication rails is actually very impactful. And at that time, we didn't know that it could be something which could lead to a advancement of humanity. But we saw that this is something which is very impactful. And both me and Sushmit were very impact-driven. Sushmit had built India's first decentralized exchange back in the day. And I wanted to go and pursue something which is completely out of my engineering work. So yes, during the last 10 days of the hackathon, even though if we wouldn't have won the prize, even though we wouldn't have gone to an accelerator, we would have kept on building it in a most frugal fashion. But thankfully for us, Gabriel rang up and Techion happened, and that led us to basically accelerating and building Huddle 1. Yeah.
Yeah, so for us, at that time, 2020 summer, I was the community member of IPFS Filecoin, and my idea is basically contribute to the community. Not the purpose is not for the founding a new company. So I wasn't intended to set up a new company to become an entrepreneur. Actually, didn't have any of this idea. But when it turned into this idea, it's basically the result of the HackFS. We luckily got some honorable awards, best DeFi project and best liquidity project, something like this, and that attracted one of the judges of HackFS, and they actually connected me to the accelerator program, and that's how I get into the accelerator. And I didn't know about what is accelerator, and then got this kind of offer and say, I got some money, and then you guys have to make a company. That's okay. Then I have to set up a company, and then U.S., Singapore, and then Switzerland, because I was so serious. If we do this, I have to be very serious. So for the long-term success, and then I chose Switzerland to set up a company, and that's how gradually become the founder. But thanks to the accelerator program, Filecoin Accelerator and Techion, I gradually train as a founder, and then pitch practices is very, very helpful. So that's how I became founder.
Yeah, I think I had a very different experience from them because I'd been building companies for at least, 15 years by then. So for me, actually, it wasn't enough. I actually thought, thinking back, like, this is a bad idea. We probably don't want to work on it. But yeah, I think it's a lot of things sometimes you need that they are in motion, but you actually don't realize, and they all sort of connect like a bunch of dots, and things just happen. And I would say, because I remember it was still remote, and it was the next hackathon where we presented the actual idea that we were like, okay, this is probably what we want to do. And Filecoin was giving out grants at that time, and the accelerator was the option. And then I decided, okay, maybe there's something to build as a company there. And again, this is COVID, so it's a very different environment from now. And it's kind of weird to think about it, that it took that little bit of effort to make that jump, but I'm very glad we did.
I love it. There's many different paths in that founding story of we latch on an idea and we love it and we need to work on it. We need to see that impact in the world. Or I think there's something here, but you kind of need that activation energy to like pull you into, okay, it's going to be a company now, versus like maybe it takes a couple hackathons to actually refine and get the idea to a place where you think it's there. I'm curious, looking from like a network perspective, like how did the PL network, how did these resources like mentors, like accelerators, like, dev grants, how did those help you get through some of the biggest challenges in the founder journey and the founder experience? Because it's not easy. So which of those were most useful for you, and what kind of like hurdles did they help you jump?
Yeah, so for us, I think journey started with, I think Gitcoin grant happened first. Actually, kernel happened for us, and then it was called Gitcoin Apollo, which was the first batch by Sachin and the team. And post that, we went into the accelerator, which was like this 3 months. I think all of us will remember that there used to be this big rocks. Those big rocks really helped us because it was a public kind of a discourse where you were answerable of what you had done in the last 7 days and the last 14 days. That was first. And the second was that I think what PL Network did the best was they gave us a spreadsheet of all the people with their calendar link. So it was one for anything regarding fundraise. It was you regarding product strategy. It was ZX regarding crypto economics. It was like someone else regarding legal. So what we used to do was that we used to book calls with everyone. And we used to get as much knowledge as possible. And that really helped us really move very fast. So I think for me, personally at Hurdle 01, the best thing was this calendars and the big rocks, which compress the whole journey for us and in a really fast fashion. Yeah.
Yeah, so for us, I think it's the PL network helped us is the creating as many touch points as possible with the similar minded people like this today. Protocol Labs and Ethereum created this opportunity to get together with Ayush and Swaroop. We all started at the same time, and we can see from time to time and how it's going. Actually, the one of the biggest problem for founding a company is the kind of like making decision alone. So, but I never feel like I'm alone. I mean, we have friends, we have all like ecosystem partners, and Protocol Labs actually creating many opportunities to say hello. And then they always ask me, hey, what's your problem? How can I help you? And this kind of altruistic and then, this more like a help each other, this kind of sense of in the same ecosystem really helps and it gives us a confidence. I think that's most benefits that I get.
Yeah, I think for me, for us at least, it was a bit in the beginning and a lot later on as well, because I think PL as a network matured. If I think about it in the beginning, of course, it brought in that little bit of credibility for us. During like fundraise, I'd done that for many times, but when I was doing it this time, like I had like one PL was backing, and when I would talk to people that, hey, there's not only Protocol Labs, but we are working on the Filecoin ecosystem, and we are so closely connected, so there's that less bit of challenge. And then as time progressed, I remember when I met Molly for the first time, and literally I think it was somewhere in Canada, which I wasn't expecting. And we were like outside on our laptops and like hacking on trying to get that IPFS to work. And I think one of my lead engineers is here in the audience, and he can appreciate that time. It was like, I would think that, oh, this protocol is not possible. I've already given 1 year of my life. What's going to happen? So I think it's all those moments, right? And then leading up to like something, obviously I can't talk publicly, but we just talked backstage. So all of these small things definitely help, which is hard to explain to people because you have to sort of live through it, because most companies end up not surviving because it's lonely, it's hard. And even though I've done this so many times, it's exciting, but it's not easy. It doesn't get easy.
Yeah, and doing it alone is so much harder, so much more draining, and having a network of support makes a big difference. You mentioned the fundraising process a bit. James was telling me a fun fact that the Tachyon cohort that you all were part of raised $56.5 million collectively across all of the startups in that cohort, which is pretty amazing. That's 4.5 million average. Yeah. Can you guys tell me a little bit about kind of your fundraising process and experience, and especially any tips and advice for founders or would-be founders who are thinking about going through their first fundraise?
For us, personally, we had never fundraised before. So for us, the major importance was to understand how these structures work, the SAFE, the equity, the overall structure of SAFTs and all the others. What was really helpful for us was to understanding so one great thing which used to happen via the PLN network was to give us all these YC structures of how SAFE works, what is a post-money SAFE, what is a pre-money SAFE. So we understood all these concepts over time that, okay, this is how valuation cap works. I think that becomes very important because though you're building a product, though you're building any kind of things, it's very important to understand the structures of on which you are able to raise money. So I think for us, that was very important, and we learned that over time. And I think second was that since the network was so so well connected, we were able to get a lot of angels first on board who were really excited about what we're building. So, and that angel led to that domino effect where a couple of major investors came in, and that's how we were able to raise the first round, which was around 1.7 million. And that was the pre-seed round of Fadla 1. And post that, we became very confident. Okay, this is how the structure works. This is how you create a pitch deck, and this is how you pitch to a VC. This is how you do one great advice by Gabriel, which I think everyone who is building a startup should follow, was you need to build momentum into your rounds. To do that, you need to compress your calendar in 2 to 3 weeks. Basically, get all the venture capitalists or angels in 3 weeks time and try to fill up your round as fast as possible via soft commits. What that leads to is that it leads to a kind of FOMO inbuilt into the round itself, and you are able to close it very fast. So I think these kind of small nuggets really helped us close the first round. Then post that, it doesn't become easy, but you get adept to it because now you know the nuances of how to raise. Yeah.
Yeah, for us, fundraising is at some point it's difficult to manage kind of a conflict of interest between project and investors. And investors, its purpose is make money, right? So there are many different kinds of investors who really want to support us for their long-term growth or short-term minded, just a profit purpose. So what I had a really great help is introduction to really high quality investors through Protocol Labs networks, and I think it's really helpful. So introduction via good investors is really meaningful, and because I also had this is the first time fund the fundraising process. I don't know about the deal structure and evaluation thing, and when I talk to the greedy investors, and then the deal structure is maybe just for them, not for us. So it's really hard to get this right information for us. But Protocol Labs is, always gives us a neutral point of view, and a good investor always give me for us. So that is very, very helpful.
Yeah, the power of founder-friendly investors and angels.
Yeah.
Like if you get your first set of money from other founders, they're rooting for you. They know what you're going through, and they are trying to help you set up something that's actually going to work to make your idea work in the long term. Totally.
I think this is, I actually still hate fundraising after doing it for so many times. But it was a different time, different market. It kind of feels very similar now, in its own way. As we were, we were all also still stuck in our apartments. We couldn't travel. I still remember doing everything on Zoom, like the standing desk and things like that. But the advantage that I had was I sort of put in a lot of homework this time, right? Because I knew clearly what we were doing. We were going through an accelerator, so you have that I'd done that previous time, so I knew what to, all the things that I sort of talked about, making sure the meetings were done in a way. But there was something new for us was structure itself, because we went for this very futuristic mindset, which is we're literally just launching the protocol now. And that 3 years ago, thinking into the future that this is probably what we want to do, and coming up with a legal structure especially was not easy, because everything I'd done before was on safes. So I had to work with lawyers and then make sure, and they are not cheap. I remember we got some help from the legal counsel, who currently is the chairman of the Filecoin Foundation, Mara. And, I was like, I don't talk to these people, but the introductions help, right? So that sort of sped up a lot of the process. And then if you have the momentum, obviously the market, there was that whole bull market sort of kicking off. So that definitely helped. And I think I was a bit early in the batch raising. I remember that as well. But in the end, sort of worked out. But we stayed frugal since then. That also helps for founders.
Just while I have you all on stage, are there any feature requests, any things that are big challenges, pain points, struggles for you right now as a founder that you wish there were more resources around, either in the PL network or in some of the other amazing communities like this that you're a part of?
I think for us, what Swaroop also mentioned was the legal part of things is something which we are still basically, the structures in which you can get kind of more clarity. So what I've also understood over time is that even if you don't have money, haven't raised money, but you have, let's suppose, a firepower of 100K, which you get from any kind of accelerators, it is a good idea to get a legal team involved by getting them an equity into the round itself, if you are not able to pay them via the, because that really helps you in the long run, is what I believe. So over time, I think one of the biggest burden I'm sure maybe Swaroop as well as Masa would have faced it, legal becomes a kind of bottleneck. You're able to do other things because you have done that before, or you can read those things, but legal is a kind of a gray area, which I believe, and there is something which you don't have an exact clarity on what is right, what is wrong. So having a great legal counsel really helps. I think that's what would be one of my only things which I'll say for anyone who's building anything and is into the venture land of crypto, is that having a good, or even in any kind of structure, is that understanding and having a good legal team helps you think, and also an accounting team basically who helps you in the whole bookkeeping, really helps you in focus on what you do best, which is all the other tenets. Yeah.
Yeah. So aside from legal is so important, and probably the hiring process. And I learned a lot from Protocol Labs hiring, and then looking at the talent, and I kind of understand the process. But it actually took time to develop our own hiring process, and then especially the young startup, the one new team member's impact is really big, right? So it's really important to have. It could be very toxic, but it could be really superpower. So in that case, I was, I want to hire soon, but at the same time, I have to be cautious. It's kind of like this. It's really challenging, but the Protocol Labs gave us some like a pipeline, management, something. So it really helps me. So the hiring, really important. Yeah.
Both of them covered two of my favorite topics, but something that I'm going through right now. So I feel like that is hard to say when you're early stage. It sort of extends into what Ayush mentioned. We are in a space which there's a lot of regulatory uncertainty, right? And it changes constantly. I feel like what was 3 years ago to now has changed. What was 6 months ago to now has changed. So even when you plan, and I think that is where, especially companies in Web3 who are non-SaaS, right? Like if you're not going for the traditional business models, kind of weird saying traditional, but for the Web3 business models, that's one thing that founders don't know, because if you haven't done it, very few have actually succeeded. Some had to see jail time. So it's such a risky situation because it's already hard enough to build a company. So I think that's one aspect that founders would want to know, because usually we ignore it thinking once we get big, we'll see when we get there. And I don't think that's a good way to go around it, and then probably where it'll be most helpful.
Awesome. Great answers all around, and strongly agree with all three. Maybe looking forward to the next 6 months for some of the founders, builders, people who are part of this Web3 ecosystem, what are some of the breakthroughs coming that you're excited about, that you think are really interesting new opportunities? You all were getting your start before Filecoin was even live and launched. So building startups takes time. So what are some of those trends or kind of pieces of ecosystem momentum, new launches, new releases that you think are really exciting moments that maybe other builders or hackers in the ecosystem should know about those growth trends?
I think a couple of them for me, because I've been tracking the Filecoin ecosystem for the last 3 years. is the launch of FVM, and I think I'll recommend everyone to watch the Filecoin master plan of how Filecoin has evolved so much from storage to compute and to the whole network. So you'll be able to, you can build a lot of things on top of FVM is what I believe is one of the bigger things that I like to highlight. Second is on the aspect of Web3 social. I know that Web3 social has become kind of a cliche term, but I definitely believe that you need to build solid clients on top of these social graphs. There are a couple of them, but we need more of them to make sure, and for that you need to require a very good product chops so that you're able to build this really high quality products. We really still don't have a lot of consumer facing products. We have built that at Huddle 01, we have built that in public, and we have massively in public actually also failed in scaling, but that really helps you. Over time you get all these feedbacks and you're able to use those feedbacks to build a very high quality product over time. And I think the third one would be something on the DeFi side, on staking side. So there's a very good video in which I think it was in Multicoin Summit, which was about how the staking has evolved from the normal staking, which was 2 to 3 days, to a kind of long-term staking, to a restaking, liquid staking, restaking, now a long-term staking, where now you can lock up the money for years and years into the protocol itself, and there is a lot of value into that, which will lead to your protocol actually becoming kind of an effective bank. So I believe that for someone who's interested in the DeFi side of things, this kind of long-term staking kind of things are very interesting to go forward. And lastly, I believe that on the communication rails which we are building, I believe you can build fantastic applications, and you can on top of it, which will really help drive collaborations, communications, and innovations at a much more faster level, making sure that humans are able to coordinate in much more better fashion. So these 4 or 5 things is what I believe is the next set of toolkits which will help. Yeah.
Yeah. So as you know, everyone is expecting the bull market coming in, and along with this, I think more like a regulatory clarity is coming, and then more institutional coming in, and then I'm expecting in the Filecoin ecosystem is more the growth of the retrieval market and Saturn, and actually it creates more use cases and underpin the intrinsic value of the Filecoin, and that actually helps us to promote our product. And it actually next year we're going to go live on December 15th, starting from global ETHIOC, and then December 29th is opening up the new market. What I'm expecting, this impact is opening up a new chapter of the finance. What we do is basically creating a bond market and interest rates market. It's similar to Satoshi's impact. What he did is decentralization of money transfer, without intermediary. The money flows without permission. And our version is basically bond flows without intermediary. So we can create something like this impact to the finance industry. And obviously the next big topic for DeFi is fixed interest rate market, fixed income business. So, but this is more like an institutional topic. But I think by having this institutional capital and then the next year's bull market, we definitely fit to this market opportunity. And we're so excited to see this growth.
I know we're running out of time, so I'm going to keep this short. I'm very excited about more and more scaling solutions, because they were definitely not possible, just like Filecoin actually needed to exist for us to start. A lot of things moving on-chain, because we have seen, like last year was quite the disaster, and all of it, if you sort of look at it, was more to do with things not happening on-chain, right? In a space like Web3. And for more primitives, including a little bit of self-shout out to ourselves, for building things differently that was probably not possible before, right? And on that note, I actually just pressed a button before coming on stage. So all of our content's live on powerloom.io. Thanks to some of the team members on the audience responsible for it. And I think that's what, like, if you see the crowd today here, and there's going to be massive at ETHIndia tomorrow, that is a big shift from probably a year ago, where we were all still like not unsure about are we going somewhere? Like there was that direction missing, and I think there's a lot more clarity there.
Awesome. In our last minute, let's wrap it up around what advice would you give to people who are hacking at ETHIndia this weekend if they want to become Web3 founders like you up on this stage 3 years from now? How can they use their time really well during this hackathon?
I think in the hackathon, what we had a very good thing was that it was a 30-day hackathon. So that really helped us in basically getting more time into it. What I believe is that when you're building something in the hack, one thing which you should avoid is not adding a lot of sponsor prizes just to gain more, get more prize money, but build with your heart on what you believe is the, which you think that you will take it forward, because then you develop an affinity towards the product which you are building. And that leads you to thinking long term for 5 to 10 years that, okay, I want to keep building this. So the more affinity you develop, and if your North Star is not to basically get $10,000 of prize money, but it's actually to build something which is really impactful, then you will be able to think in mindset that, okay, I want to keep building this for next 5 years, because I think that's the most important thing. Can you build this thing for next 5 years? Because if you're able to do that, then only your hack or a project can become a founder. So I think that's the kind of shift as a mental shift which is needed, is what I'll recommend everyone who is hacking around in ETHIndia this time.
Yeah, I'll make it short. So Web3 is very unpredictable. So, and I enjoy serendipity, and I don't hesitate to talk to next people. So that's my advice.
I'll do it as a hot take. I think it's a hackathon. Please go build something that you have fun building. Building a company comes after it, especially with people that you trust. That's it.
Awesome. You heard it here. Thank you all so much to our fantastic panelists.